Here is a piece of fillet steak. Okay, so just keep sort of sort of cutting away really. We're not going to use all this. We're just going to make a single portion. So what I'm going to do is just take this little bit here. That bit there we'll save for a later batch. You can see there's a little bit of sinew underneath, so we're just going to remove that as well. Like so. Just using the point of the knife, that's all it needs to be, more controllable. Okay, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is just slice it, probably about, what's that there? About 1/2 centimetre in thickness. And then what I'm going to do is finely chop it. I actually find using a knife, a sharp knife particularly in this case, a lot better than using a food processor. I think you get a better texture from it. So just flatten it out a little bit and then slice it as thin as you can get it into little strips, and then chop across as thin as, sort of small dice, as thin as you can get it, keeping your fingers well out of the way. So you get these little tiny pieces of steak, okay? That's not quite finished there yet, so what I'm going to do is just continue doing this. So you always lead, as we said before, with that finger. And use that as a guide. See how it's all, can you see that there? Yeah, it's how my bottom knuckle is always against the knife. And that's very, very important. And keep your other bell ringers out of the way. That's fingers. Okay, so we'll just do a little bit more. Like I say, we're making a portion here. So we'll just strip this little bit as well. And I'm just going to do another one. Rather than doing them as little tiny pieces, I can sort of do the whole thing. Like that. So just, the nice rocking action. I'll do it slow motion on this next one here. The tip of the knife, when I chop like that, never leaves the board. It's a rocking motion, but the tip will never leave the board. Watch. If it comes more side on, will that help? Like that. You see? Okay. And then chop through there. Right, now you can make this as coarse or as fine as you want. So I'm going to make this one a little bit finer than what I've got there. So what we do, sort of flatten the steak out a little bit, knife on the board, fingers on the top there. Again, the tip of the knife is going to be on the board and it's just an up and down rocking motion, okay? So just through the steak, like that. And that's what we're after. Trying to get it as fine as possible, but we still want to maintain some of the texture in that steak. So keep chopping. Be patient with it. And that's what we're after. Just clean your knife off. Just be careful when you do that. Okay, so we've got some nice little pieces of steak in there, right? So, obviously on its own, it's probably not going to taste steak. Pop it into a nice mixing bowl. Now we're going to flavour it up. Okay, right. So what I've got here is a gherkin. So we're going to slice the gherkin in half and then we're going to finely chop it again. Okay, so just using the tip of the knife into nice little strips again, like so, and then chop through there so you get nice little tiny pieces. Don't worry if they're not all uniformed. We're going to come back to that in a moment. So we've got a bit of gherkin in there. Now I also want to add a few capers. Okay, probably a few more. There, no, maybe too many. There, about that. About 15 or so capers. And again, just break them up with your knife. With that lead finger, just gently crush them. I'm not going haphazard on it. I'm not bashing the knife around. That's not what you want. Okay. And then we also want to add a little bit of shallot. So what we need to do with that is just finely chop that. So what we do with the shallot, don't cut all the way to the end. A bit like when we chopped the onion before, okay? So just do little slices, but a little bit finer now than the onion. A couple of little slits through here. Perfect. And then slice downwards. So you get really, really nice fine pieces of shallots. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just run my knife, a bit like what we did on the steak then, over all this. Get it as fine as you can possibly get it. Whether I actually need to use all this, I don't know just yet. All to do with taste, okay? So let's just keep chopping there. Get it as fine as you can possibly get it. Let the knife do the work. There we go. Look at that. Perfectly chopped. Okay, right. I'm going to add half of it into my diced steak. Now, I'm going to give it a little kick now. So, for that little kick, I use Tabasco. Okay, just a few dashes of Tabasco. That'll probably do. It's all to do with taste, you know, we'll taste a little bit, and then we can add a little bit more. Worcester sauce, a few little splashes of that. And a little Dijon mustard, okay? What's that about? Half a teaspoon or so. Little bit of salt. Now when you make this, you can't really make this in advance. With all those seasonings in there, what that will do is it will actually turn the meat brown. So you have to season it as you actually make it, okay? A little bit of black pepper in there. And then just simply mix all those ingredients up, making sure it's all really nicely combined. Smell those flavours. If you had smell-o-vision, you'd be able to smell it, but you've got chives there for garnish. I've just got a little chef ring there, okay? And we're going to pop this steak tartare in the centre of our chef ring. A decent sized portion in there. And then just with the back of the spoon, just press it so it forms into the ring there. So when you take the ring off, you're left with a nice perfect circle. That's what you're after. I'm going to use a couple of the capers just as a little garnish around the edge. I'm going to have a little drizzle of olive oil. This is a good extra virgin olive oil. Just have to look at the colour of it there. We've got an egg yolk here. So what we're going to do is just pop an egg yolk over the top, like so. And then take some of the chives and just garnish it on top with a couple of chives. And I'm going to finish it off with just a little bit of black pepper and clean the edge. And that's it. That's steak tartare, beautifully chopped with our Type 301 designed by Porsche.